Okay, guys, so welcome to our Zombie Army special episode. All right, so this is the video that I've been promising you guys for a really long time now, and it is one of the most controversial things when it comes on to like video games and people have to make tier lists because most of the time, sometimes it's like subjective, but we can all agree that there are weapons that are stronger and some weapons that are weaker in the game, and we are basically going to do uh, a list or our tier list here to show the capabilities of each weapon. Now, it's not as easy to say that a weapon is S tier or A tier in Zombie Army. So what I am going to do is I'll try my best to break it down as follows, right? So first we have brutal, and these are weapons that are generally the best on brutal gameplay because you can play pretty much any weapon however you want, wherever you want, all right? But we are going to like talk about the weapons that are best for brutal, which is the highest tier in this game, right? On four-player setup. Because this is currently the hardest difficulty in Zombie Army. And we are going to talk about weapons that are probably better in hard four-player setup, which is like mid-tier, and then below, which would mean below hard, like normal and easy. This is more like the beginner level for these weapons. So if you're just starting out with Zombie Army, it's better if you use the weapons that are in this tier to like get a feel of the game and get used to like how the weapons work and things like that. All right. So we do have all the weapons here. I think we have like 9 rifles in the game. We have 10 secondary weapons, and we have, I think it's like 8 pistols. So we have 3 different lists here. Now, I am going to go through on each weapon. Some weapons I will elaborate on, and some weapons are just obvious that you don't need to say much. All right. So with all of that out of the way, guys, let's get started. All right, let's turn on some music right here. All right, guys, so the first weapon we're going to talk about is actually the G43, and all of these weapons here are listed just as you would see them in the video game. Now, the G43 is basically one of those weapons that you will start out with. All right, it's very weak when you play it on brutal. It is one of those weapons that is very forgiving. You can use like full auto on it, which is actually really good for people who are scared at bolt action weapons. So if you're not really like good at sniping, it is a good weapon to like introduce you to the sniping in Zombie Army. And also it is an electric weapon, so it is good to like get used to the cooldown on the weapon special ability, and also getting used to how the electric works, right? Because it does knock down zombies, it incapacitates them, it attacks more than multiple zombies when you have it like fully upgraded and everything. The next weapon we're going to talk about is the M1 Grand. And M1 Grand is basically one of those weapons I would put in mid tier because it is actually like, it is as fast, or it's not as fast, but it's like a little bit slower than the G43, but it's a lot faster than the Mossy Nagant, right? And because of that, it does have like good damage, and it can be used in brutal, but it's not there are like better options, and that's why I would put it as a mid-tier weapon in hard. All right. Okay, so the thing is, because my computer is not designed to like do this stuff like stream and like work with Photoshop at the same time. I do have a slight performance issue, but I hope you guys will forgive me for that. All right, guys. The next weapon is the Mossy Nagant, and this is by far the strongest weapon or rifle in the game. Well, with the introduction of certain weapons in like season 1 and 2, the Mossy Nagant is no longer the strongest weapon in the game, but it has always been the strongest since day 1. It is a flagship weapon because it was on launch, and it is still a strong competitor to the other weapons that are in the DLC. So if most of the people who play Zombie Army, if you don't have the DLC, the Mossy Nagant is pretty much the strongest weapon in the game. And even with the new DLC weapons, it is still one of the strongest weapons in the game. Always reliable, but it does require it does require you to be more accurate at sniping, because it is a bolt action weapon. It is really slow, because you have to like shoot and then, you know, recrank the bolt or something. The next weapon we are going to talk about is the M1895 repeater. All right, now this was one of the first DLC weapons when the game launched. It was in season, I would say season 1. Yes, it was in season 1. And basically on paper, this weapon actually looks really good. It does look like it's a weapon that can be played on brutal, but the thing that you need to look for when playing on brutal is that, are you like confident to kill all of the zombies with the weapons that you're using? And this weapon, it does have a fast fire rate. It does do a lot of damage, or it seems like it does a lot of damage to grunts. It kills grunts like really easy, but when it comes down to like killing elites and special zombies, it is not the best. All right, so this weapon is probably going to be a mid-tier weapon right here. Our fifth weapon is actually the M1 carbine, and with the M1 carbine, this weapon is a divine weapon. So the first time I was actually playing brutal in some of my earlier videos, you did see me use it on brutal, and it's one of those weapons that you can use as a secondary assault rifle, because it's really fast, right? It has a fast fire rate, and it is also, you can actually add a burst fire to it. Being a divine weapon makes it really strong, but would I put it in brutal? It's not the best in brutal. All right, it's still lackluster, and it's still not strong enough to keep up with, you know, certain like the elites, because you do need, most of the time people rely on their snipers to actually kill the elites. So if you run out of like secondary ammo and the sniper is the only thing left, this is just going to waste bullets on elites. So it is a mid-tier weapon in my opinion. Our next weapon is actually the Big Joe crossbow. All right, and the thing with the Big Joe crossbow, like, most people don't understand this weapon because they don't play it as much. The bolt does fire really slowly, and it does have like a drop rate. The drop rate is a lot different than, you know, firing projectiles from, you know, your snipers. This fires a bolt, and the drop rate is actually different, and the bolt actually has to travel, so it does look a little slower, right? So if you shoot it like without like pre-aiming certain areas, sometimes you're going to miss. All right, so the idea behind this weapon, right, it is a little bit more advanced, and I would put it in brutal. And the reason I'm putting this weapon in brutal is that, just like the mortar shotgun, this weapon has multiple elements on it. It has divine, electric, I believe it has fire, and it also has explosive bolts. And the thing that most people don't understand is, on brutal difficulty, elemental weapons outperforms weapons that only focus on damage. All right, and the Big Joe crossbow, if you do not look at it as a sniper, right, and rather use it like the mortar shotgun, where you would shoot the zombies with elemental attacks, it is a rock paper scissors effect. You don't know what you're going to get, right? If you get divine out of it, you basically get double the damage. If you get fire, it does damage over time. If you get electric, it incapacitates the zombies, right? It knocks them down, and it does make some of the zombies' heads explode, right? So this weapon is actually very strong. I don't use it a lot in my videos, simply because there are better options, but this is just an idea to show you that this weapon is a really strong one. All right, the next weapon we are going to look at is the Lee Enfield rifle. Now, I actually put these rifles in black simply because these weapons do not have any special elements attached to them. The Lee Enfield rifle was introduced in season 2, and it is a really strong weapon. It does outperform the Mossinagon, right? On paper, I should say on paper, but actually using it might be a little different. The thing is, this was the first weapon to introduce super headshot rounds, and what I've realized is that super headshot rounds is actually really good. It is a high risk, high reward thing though. You don't need to use super headshot rounds on this weapon because it can do the job with just, you know, regular damage mods, right? But with the super headshot rounds, it basically one-shots let's say armored giants. It one-shots their helmets, it kills them with the second shot, right? And when you actually come up against like elites, it does do the job as well, because I think you can like kill elites with like 2 or 3 headshots with this weapon. Or snipers in general that use super headshot rounds, you can kill elites with like 2 or 3 headshots. The next weapon we are going to look at is the SVT-38. Now, this weapon in Season 2, like when I use it, it does feel, for lack of a better word, it feels kind of trash, because it's basically the same thing as the G43, right? But the thing with this weapon that makes it different is that it does have super headshot rounds, right? Now, if you can't use super headshot rounds, it's going to be in this tier, right? It's going to be like a beginner weapon. But if you use super headshot rounds, right, it does go all the way up here. It is going to be here, right? And our final weapon is the last weapon that was introduced in Season 2, and that is the M1903 Springfield rifle. Now, I have used this weapon. It is, so far, I think it is the best weapon in the game, and this is my reason, right? It does the same damage as the Mossy Nagant, right? Slightly less than the Lee Enfield, but it has the fastest fire rate as a bolt action weapon. So this weapon, it does the job of both of these weapons, and it has a faster fire rate. So I am going to put it here in the highest rank as well. So let's make some room. So there you have it, boys. This is my personal feelings on how each of these weapons are ranked in Zombie Army. Alright, so moving on to secondary weapons. Alright, now we do have a lot of secondary weapons in this game, and trust me guys, there are some of you who actually use some of these weapons more than I do, because I usually just focus on 1 or 2 of the weapons. But I have used every weapon in the game. I have mastered every weapon in the game before, right? Let's just cut out Season 2 weapons, because we all know that those weapons have this problem with, you know, this bug with upgrading them. All right, so there are some that I haven't really like played as much yet, but I do have the general idea of how they perform, all right, by, you know, going through mastery with them. So the first weapon we are going to talk about is the M30 Drilling. All right, now the M30 Drilling is the strongest shotgun in the game. All right, no doubt, it's OP, right? But the reason I won't put it in brutal or the highest tier is simply because of a few things, right? Now, the mods, when you upgrade this weapon, right, the first thing you get sawn-off shotgun, which makes it do even more damage up close, right? But the thing is, I do believe that you only get like 3 shots, right? On brutal 4-player setup, right, when you are getting surrounded by zombies, you can choke with this weapon, right? Because it does have a fire mod, but the fire only does damage over time. It won't stop the zombies from rushing you, right? You get 3 shots. Once those 3 shots are done, you have to reload it. And when you have to reload it, guys, it's better if you swap your weapons until that weapon run out of bullets. So it is very strong. Some mods though, like if you use fire all three shots in one, that's basically a waste, right? It is a waste, and it does make this weapon like really bad, especially on brutal 4 player. All right, but it is a really strong gun. I would like to put it in brutal, but based on how it's designed, it just requires high positioning, right? You have to move around a lot to use it, and you have to keep an eye on your ammo box, because if you run out of ammo on brutal, you're basically dead. Our next weapon is the MP44, right? And the MP44 is the strongest assault rifle, or it was in the base game, right? So let's just put it here. Now, if I'm not using the mortar shotgun, this is the weapon that I am going to use on brutal 4 player setup. It's highly effective. It has a decent clip size, which is 30 rounds, and if you put it on semi-auto fire and put Carl Fairborn, it does become a monster at range, because you're getting like constant critical hits. It also has a vampiric scope, which means that you do get healed on critical hits, which is nuts. So there's not much to say about this one. The next weapon we are going to talk about is the Thompson machine gun. Now, the Thompson it's very OP, right? It's insane, especially the fact that it is a divine weapon, right? So you're getting like double damage on hit. But the thing why I won't put it in brutal is because the Thompson machine gun, the fire rate is just insane, and you do run out of bullets really quickly. So, like I said, you need your bullets in brutal difficulty, and this weapon just burns through it. Like it overkills, so you constantly have to go to the ammo box. Our fourth weapon will be the trench gun, and like the truth is, like, since day one, this has never been my favorite shotgun, right? And the reason is this: I used it on a hard 4 player when I was trying to like beat the game the first time, and this weapon was just really bad. Like, it knocks over zombies when you shoot them. The only good thing about it is an electric weapon, but that alone can't save it. It's like really bad, guys. Like, I never use this. I never use it. I only used it once. I hated it and I stopped using it. It was like the hardest thing to master it, because I think you required like 200 double or triple kills. I can't remember, but it was like insanely hard because it's just so bad. That's just my personal feelings. Alright, so next thing is the FG42. The FG42 is a flame weapon, and trust me, this weapon is OP, right? When you first start using this weapon, I think it comes with like 10 rounds in the clip, and trust me, guys, at Rebellion, these guys had to balance this weapon because it does insane damage without any mods. Like, you can play this on brutal difficulty without any mods and still destroy zombies. And I've noticed that in my last video when I played brutal, one of the horde maps, guys, I just took up this weapon and I was like shredding zombies. I knew it was like that before, but the main reason is that most people don't like starting out with it because it has a 10 rounds and you'll constantly have to reload, right? But like when you upgrade this and get like 20 or 30 rounds, guys, trust me, it is an asset. Alright, guys, so our sixth weapon will be the PPSH-41. Alright, and like the honest truth, or the brutal truth I should say, is I haven't used this gun a lot. I mastered it before, but I wasn't like really impressed with its performance. I would never use it on brutal difficulty simply because it has a fast fire rate. I think it's almost the same as the Thompson, but it's not. It's actually slower than the Thompson machine gun. The thing with this weapon though is that it has an accuracy problem, right? Like, shooting at certain range, you're going to miss like most of your shots, or the shots aren't going to go where you want them, because most of the time you are going to be focusing on the head, but at certain range, this weapon is just like really it's horrible, right? The Thompson machine gun is actually better than this gun, in my opinion. All right, so it is a mid-tier weapon for me. Our seventh weapon will be the mortar shotgun, and the mortar shotgun is by far the strongest weapon in the game, so it is going to go up here. This is the strongest weapon in the game simply because it's not just a grenade launcher, right? Because the truth is that on brutal difficulty, the grenade launcher is not good. It's the worst thing you can do. The grenades only knock over the zombies. I think you have to shoot them with like 3 or 4 grenades to actually kill them, right? But the thing is, this weapon has every element. It has electric, fire, and it also has, you know, the exploding grenades. The thing is though, right, you can also add attachments and get like different elements like divine and so on, which actually heals you. So this gun is actually like, it's broken, right? The thing is, the weapons need to be like this to actually be able to beat brutal difficulty, right? So if you play this weapon with all of the elemental attacks, it's broken on brutal difficulty. You get fire, which does damage over time with insane range, right? You get electric, which knocks down multiple zombies and it kills them at the same time. And then you will get the exploding grenades, which actually is actually good for knocking over the zombies and, you know, getting to reposition. It's not good to use in small areas, and that's the main reason why you would mostly see me use my pistol when I play certain maps on brutal difficulty. Our next weapon is actually the Sten Mark II, right? And this is one of those weapons that were introduced in season 2. It feels more like the MP44 assault rifle, right? And it can do the job in brutal difficulty. I haven't played it a lot, but based on what I feel when I played it, it does feel like a weapon that can be played on brutal difficulty. Alright, we'll probably make some space just in case we have more weapons to come up here. The grease gun is actually a really good SMG. It is basically like both of these weapons combined, but it's much better. Alright, so it is a weapon that I will put in brutal as well. I played it on brutal and it's really good. I enjoyed it. And then finally we have the bomb lance. The bomb lance is the new the final weapon that they added in season 2, and it is a beast when you have it like fully all the mods unlocked. It is a beast, right? Because the bomb lance, it does fire harpoons, which it's not the best at certain range, but it is really fun, right? And it also has something called cluster bombs, which is pretty insane because when you fire it, it actually explodes. But it has a bunch of explosions in one area. All right, so this is my tier list on the secondary weapons. All right, guys, I put that there. Let's move this back a little. And we'll make some space for, you know, the grease gun. And the bomb lance. Alright guys, so there you have it. Alright, so next we are going to look at the pistols. Our first weapon is the C96 pistol. Alright, it is a flame weapon, which is really good. It does, when you upgrade it, it does like go up. It has like a 30 round clip, so it's like a third SMG, right? But I would never use this weapon on brutal. Alright, there's not much to say about it, guys. I'll put it right here. I don't play it a lot. I've mastered it before, but I still don't play it a lot. The next weapon is the M1911. Also a pretty solid gun. It's good at the beginner level. not much to say about this pistol as well. It is a divine weapon, so it can be played in hard. But I wouldn't use it in brutal. There are just like far better options. The third gun is the Webley Mark 6, and this is the strongest pistol in the game. Alright, this is the strongest pistol in the game, guys. It does have explosive rounds, and to give you a broader understanding of how I'm actually like ranking these weapons is when you play brutal difficulty, right? There are a ton of factors that you have to consider, right? You have to consider the grunts, the special zombies such as the officers, and then we have the elites, right? The officers aren't hard to deal with, but the zombies that are hard to deal with are the elites and the grunts that surround you, alright? As well as the armored giants, or the armored zombies, I should say. With all of these weapons, how they perform against grunts has nothing to do with how they perform against armored zombies and special zombies, you know, like the gunner, the flamer, and God forbid, the butcher. Alright, these weapons cannot do anything against those zombies. Alright, the Webley Mark 6 can. So when I'm ranking all these weapons, I think about how they perform against the elites, right? The grunts are nothing. It's actually the elites who are the problem. All of these weapons can destroy the elites, not the Big Joe crossbow, right? But all of these weapons can destroy the elites. So when you choose your weapon for brutal, you need to think about the elite zombies, alright? The Webley Mark 6, if you use your special shot, right? That's when you actually go in slow motion and you fire a shot. This weapon can kill them with one shot, right? The special zombies. Once you break their helmet and you use your Deadeye, or Brain Buster, right? It kills them with one shot, but you have to know how to do it, right? This also like requires two shot to take off it requires one shot in most cases to take off the armor zombie helmet, and another shot to kill it, right? It one shots everything on brutal. These other weapons here, they don't. Alright, our fourth weapon is the shotgun pistol. The shotgun pistol is extremely strong, but I wouldn't use it in brutal, right? And the reason is it only has two shots. Then you have to reload it, and that is a problem, right? Because like I said, when it comes down to like elite zombies, if this weapon cannot kill them fast enough, I'm probably not going to put it up here, right? It's really strong and I love it, but it is the reload which is the problem on this weapon. And I think you require like 3 or 4 shots to kill elites with this gun. I did when I was like mastering this weapon, there was one of the challenges where you had to like kill, I think, like 5 or 10 elite zombies. So I have tested it a lot on killing zombies with headshots. The next weapon is the Worm Match PO8. Now this weapon, when it originally released, it was actually called the Luger PO8, but they changed the name. I have no idea why they changed the name. Maybe it's because this gun, the broom handle, is considered a German Luger. This is a German Luger, but they changed the name. So it is a weapon which is a mix of the C96 and the M1911. So it goes here. Alright. There's not a lot to say about this weapon. It has the same fire rate as the M1911, and the clip size is the same as the C96 when it's fully upgraded. I think it's like 30 or 36 rounds. Alright. It is an electric weapon, but it goes as a mid-tier weapon. Our next weapon is the Police pistol. Now this is it's actually holding a crossbow. Let's put this down here. Let's do with this. All right, so it's number 7. All right, so our next weapon is the police pistol. All right, now with this weapon, when it just came out, it seemed really fun. I used it on brutal, and trust me, like that was the most misery I've had in my life. Right, this is actually below hard or mid tier, and the reason this is why I have to say it. The clip size is only 6 rounds, right? And if you play it on brutal, you require more shots than necessary to kill a grunt, right? I think I had to shoot him in the head like 3 or 4 times. And the reason, and I was even using super headshot rounds, because this is one of the first pistols to introduce super headshot rounds, right? Sorry about that. Now, wait, let me check this. Alright, so we're still recording. This was one of the first weapons to introduce super headshot rounds, right? And trust me, I've noticed that super headshot rounds performs differently across every weapon. It is the best on snipers, alright? I wouldn't use it on these guns. I don't know if I talked about it, but the Grease gun and the Sten Mark 6, Mark 2, they have super headshot rounds, right? And it's horrible to use super headshot rounds on assault rifles, right? And this is the only example I'm going to give you. On brutal, if you're shooting in a group of creepers, right? If you're not getting headshots, you're wasting your ammo. And that's fine, alright. You make whatever you want out of that, guys. The police pistol, it has super headshot rounds, and you still require 3 or 4 headshots to kill a zombie. That's just to show you how bad it is, right? It does fire really nicely and it sounds really good. I wouldn't even use it on hard, guys, because like it just requires too many shots to kill a normal grunt. Our next weapon is the Nagant M1895, and this weapon is how should I say it? The Nagant, it is a really alright, sorry about that, guys. We had a slight cutout on the HDMI. Alright, so the Nagant M1895. Now this is a really strong weapon, right? The funny thing is I used it on brutal, and trust me, I had to like leave the game. It is strong. I wouldn't even use it in hard, guys, right? Because this weapon, let me explain, is below hard. This weapon is strong, but the reload speed, guys, imagine reloading your gun for like 3 or 4 seconds while you're getting pushed by zombies. Could you do that? Trust me, guys, like this weapon, it's strong, it looks good, but I wouldn't use it on anything but is for beginners. Not even beginners, because like if you guys use this gun, you're probably going to think like, oh my god, pistols are so bad. Our next weapon is a crossbow pistol. The crossbow pistol is one of a really fun weapon, right? And just like the mortar shotgun and the regular crossbow, it has multiple elements in it, I should say. I would say you can use it on brutal because you can, but I just wouldn't risk it, right? Because of what I explained with the elemental things, it would be nice to actually use it here, but I just wouldn't. It's probably going to make things really hard on you. So I would probably say it is a mid-tier weapon, alright? So I'll put this one right here. So this is my tier list, guys. What are your thoughts? Like, don't attack me, guys. Let's just have a discussion in the comment section, all right? And there you go. So thanks for checking out today's video, guys. It was really fun to talk about these weapons. And yeah, if you like this one, I will make other videos that are not like, you know, in the game, like all videos outside of the game, like here in Photoshop. All right, so thanks again for watching, and do have a great day. All right.